She's just a legend. There's no other way to describe him. My favorite player of all time, the only player that had me standing and jumping up and down on my couch, my entire Chicago and football fandom. Matt Forte, repping Tulane this morning. How are you?
What's okay? How you doing?
I'm really good. Tell me about this background. Where are you?
I'm in my basement, and that's where I got some memorabilia. I've got my Revis jersey and Phillip Rivers. Some people I competed against, but also the Tulane. I got to rep the Tulane where I went to my alma mater.
Of course. Matt Forte, what are the days like? What are the ins and outs of being Matt Forte in Chicago?
It's busy, man. I got 4 kids, and they all in school and starting sports and stuff like that. So I'm going to soccer games and doing soccer practice, but that's a willing sacrifice. I love doing it because obviously love my kids, but I love to be there for them and support them, and just like my mom and dad did when I was growing up and going and play sports and tournaments all over the place. So it's been fun doing that, but also just continuing to invest in people. I have my foundational work that's in Chicago that was started on the South Side while playing. That's gun violence prevention, but then also investing in the pro athletes as well through a ministry that is called PAO, where we invest in the young players and try to help them not to lose all their money and not to go crazy and not to get divorced and things like that. So just investing in people, which is something that will transcend your own life.
It's something that you've always done. You also have your athleisure brand, Workhorse 22 apparel. It's now live. You started that line. People can go there and check that out as well. I had Sean Alexander on the show yesterday, maybe the day before yesterday, and he was talking about how his sons are like, "Were you any good? Were you any good?" And he's like, "YouTube," and he's telling them about his 1,800-yard season, whatever. Are your kids? How's that going? Does it come up?
Yeah. Being in Chicago, if we walk around, it's 50-50. Because when you retire, pretty much nobody cares anymore, or they love you. So it's 50-50. So sometimes my daughter will be like, "Why is that dude staring at us?" And I'm like, "Oh, he probably is a Bears fan, And then one of them might, I walk by and they say your full name, like, "Oh, hey, Matt Forte." And she's like, "How do they know your name?" I'm like, "Well, I used to play football, so they're probably a football fan." So I got to explain those things to them. But they also kind of don't know as well. I got to show them YouTube videos. They're like, if I show them YouTube and they see the highlights, it's so funny. They get super excited and they're like pointing at the screen. "That's you, Daddy. That's you." I'm like, "Yeah, like your dad was the guy."
Matt, I would do that every day. Like that would be appointment viewing. Like you get home from school, you finish your homework. Let's turn on the NFC Championship game from 20. Like I would freak. I would do that every. You gotta stop being that humble, Mr. Forte. I think.
Yeah, I can't turn on the NFC Championship game. Then they see their dad crying, so I don't want to do that. But
We'll get into that. Listen, it's a new era in Chicago. You're there. You're a part of it. You're being very humble on how people approach you and what they think of you, not just in Chicago, but in the history of the NFL. Let's just start with Caleb Williams. #1 overall. He's there. He's putting his stamp on the team. Have you had a chance to talk to him? What do you think of his fit in Chicago?
yeah, we actually, me, Tommy Harris, Spice Adams, Jerry Azuma, and Peanut all talked to the rookies a few weeks ago. They had the Bears Cares Gala, and we ended up being at dinner at the same place. And we went upstairs where they had a private room, and Ryan Poles was in the same class as mine when I got drafted to the Bears, so I know Ryan decently. And we went up there and just imparted some wisdom on them, and talked to Rome and talked to Caleb more than some of the other guys, just because of the offensive background. And just told them, be yourself. Don't worry about all this. You put extra pressure on yourself when you start to think about all the things. Oh, I'm first pick of the draft. I'm in Chicago, a big city. They're looking for me to come in. That's the obvious. But you keep your head down and you keep working. And I told them that when I came in, I used to watch all the guys who were all pros, and come in and see what they're doing. Why is he watching film longer than everybody else? Why does he get there earlier than you're required to get there? Why is this guy going to the gym before and after practice? So, and I would take little tidbits and add it to my routine. And so the most important thing as a professional, I told the guys, especially Caleb, is that you got to have some kind of routine. And when you stick to something that works, you keep implementing small tweaks that help you to be better. And then you got to be consistent. You know, anybody can have a good season or a breakout season, but can you be consistent over time? And you know, when people are scheming you and trying to actively stop you, can you reinvent yourself? So those are the things that I kind of told them that nobody told me when I was coming in that I think would go a long ways.
You're a good read on people. You get people. You see the goodness in people. You always approach everything, I think, with a lot of humanity. So I would love to know, you're with Caleb, you spend some time with him. What stood out to you?
What stood out to me is he's a good kid. Like, you can see deep down inside that he cares. He wants to win. It's not a prideful thing where he's coming in like, yeah, I'm the number one pick and everybody is supposed to love me and all that. It's more like he wants to prove himself. And I think that goes a long way, especially in today's kind of social media culture where a lot of kids are coming in where they're already making money. They're making millions in college and all that stuff. So it could give you a sense of pride. So for him to be and have a lot of humility to him, and Rome as well. You know, speaking with him, you know, he's a first round pick as well, but he's hungry. He wants to come in and work hard and to be great. And I think them being in the same draft class together and being first rounders together and being on the offense together, that just breeds that chemistry that they need, as well as the other guys that are already there. So he has a lot of parts and pieces in place. And like you were talking about earlier, the strongest part of the team is having that strong defense. You know, I played on many teams that had an average to below average offense where we made plays every now and then, but we would score 17 to 20 points and win the game because our defense was just that good. So if we can get to that kind of football in Chicago where your defense is shut down and you can pass, and then when it gets cold, you can be able to implement that run game as balanced throughout the season, then we could really do some damage and go deep into the playoffs and probably Super Bowl as well.
I mean, what are we talking about here? Did you just say what you just said? What are you saying, Matt?
I'm saying it, man. I think this team is the timing is right. It's all about timing, you know. When you know, I can look back at my career and be like, I could have worked as hard as I wanted to, but if the opportunity didn't present itself, you know, I don't think anybody would know who I was or would see the work that I put in. So I think the timing is right in Chicago, where they're getting a lot of these parts and pieces in place, where the offense and the defense might be dangerous and be be tough to deal with, especially late in December and in January.
Okay, there's a difference between tough to deal with and Super Bowl contender, right? Like, and you use the word
Yeah.
Super Bowl, and that's a word I haven't heard of in Chicago in a long time. So
No, you gotta use it.
what do you want Bears fans? What's realistic? Because you want them to be patient with Caleb too, even though he's walking into an incredible situation, unparalleled to any number one overall pick, rookie quarterback. So what are realistic expectations? Let's put it out there.
Realistic expectations. You know, it's the politically correct kind of saying when you like, oh yeah, we're going for the Super Bowl. Of course, like if you're on a team, you have to believe that, right? And if you don't believe it, then as leaders on the team, if anybody's not in that belief system, then they got to go. And so that leadership of the team has to take over. You got to be a leader on the team and say, hey, you either get down or you get out. And so when you talk about Super Bowl, you got to really believe that. It's too watered down these days. When we're like, oh yeah, you know, our goal is to win a Super Bowl. If we don't win a Super Bowl, the season's a fail. Like, duh, obvious. But do you really believe your team, and are you preparing your team to do that? And so I think they do have the right people in place, not just on the field, but the ones that are in the front office making decisions and putting them in a good position. Like the growth of the defense throughout the last half of the year, that speaks towards coaching. Every team doesn't start off at the top level. They always go through the season if you can halfway through the season start seeing a lot of growth and see that upward trend in the chart, then that speaks towards coaching the players to be in the right position to make plays. And so I'm excited about those things, and those are some of the small things that you kind of look over if you don't know the details of football.
Why is Flus the right guy?
Why is Flus the right guy? I honestly I don't know Flus that well, and I don't know his coaching style, and I haven't paid too much attention to that either, because when it really comes down to it, it's about the guys who are on the field that have to make those plays, and everything else kind of has to do on the back end as far as preparing the team. What's the mentality? Do y'all have an identity as a team, or as an offense and a defense? Do y'all have an identity? It comes down to those things, and that's kind of the coach's perspective. But when I've been paying attention to is just the players on the field, like, because when it comes down with all the best teams that I've been on, we have good, we had decent coaches, sometimes good coaches, and sometimes we had bad coaches. But what it really came down to was the leaders in the locker room. Are you going to take over? Like, are you going to go through the motions? And then in practice, when somebody messes up, oh, we'll get it. That's now you just lowered the standard, and now your new standard is down here. And so I tell the guys all the time, like, y'all are the leaders of the locker room and in the team. So whatever y'all let go, that's what the new standard is, and you got to keep it way up here, and that's how you become a great team. Not that you're gonna win every game because of that, but you're gonna be in every game.
It's not just the team, it's not just the coaching, it's not just the front office, but it's also the culture, and it starts from the top bottom. The best teams in the NFL, the ownership, the all of that. There's been some, through the years, criticism of Chicago, and by the alumni, nonetheless, of their involvement, the lack of an invitation into the building. You're telling me you got time with them upstairs at the Bears Cares Gala. You guys are you feeling a change in the culture there, and who gets the most credit for that?
Yeah, I do feel a change in the culture, because like you've heard the kind of the
Rumbling.
whispers of that, and that's true. I mean, when I retired, it was like, thank you, see you next lifetime, and that's no disrespect to anybody. It's just that's the truth, and if that's the truth, then that's the culture that y'all live by. Then that's how it's going to operate, like you said, from top down. Now, Ryan, like I said, we were in the same draft class. He was undrafted, but we spent a camp together. And so he knows the value of having former guys be in the building, come around, come to practice, and those things. And Kevin understands that as well, Kevin Warren. And so they have always been very open and inviting to all of the guys who are former players, but also legends who played at a high level. And I think when you have that, it inspires the younger guys who are coming up. They want to walk and feel, walk in those same footsteps, and they want to do this. They want to be great as well. And it also gives you a chance to impart the intricacies of the wisdom that you have from when you played on somebody who they may not know. They may not get that from a coach. It may be something that might help them in a game. So I do feel that shift coming along.